So that, of course, means we'll need to leave this system. And so it's a little misleading. In this case, we obviously have this listed as we explore this 100%. However, we will still want to come back here to actually complete the mission on Lorek, even if we're not doing it right now. We'll need to head back to the place where the actual relay is, and we have just under 300 fuel. Can we get there? I really hope so. I did not take a perfect path there, but we did. Okay. Let's, before we forget, refuel. I'm actually not sure. There's a chance. I was talking about how I don't think there's anywhere where you automatically refuel for free. I mean, if there was a place where that happened, I suppose the Citadel would be the place. But now, I think for the first time, we are accessing a mass relay, and so we can see more holistically the entire Milky Way galaxy. And you may remember from Mass Effect 1, we were generally hanging out over here where the Citadel is in the Serpent Nebula, and then lots of stuff. Earth is over here in the local cluster, and then that was those two places probably the furthest west, if you can call this west when we're talking about a galaxy. I'm not sure if you can. But most of the other missions were in this general area down here. In this sort of bottom right or southeast corner of the galaxy. Occasionally going further up over here. But this is basically Citadel space over here. If we're talking, you know, we've referenced this a few times in Mass Effect 2 and certainly in Mass Effect 1. What is Citadel space, so to speak? It's the area of space that is close by the Citadel, and again, Citadel being sort of the hub of the more established and diplomatic of the members and races and species of the Milky Way galaxy. So that's the Citadel, and so, you know, nearby the Asari, Solarian, and Turian homeworlds. Then human homeworld being Earth from the local cluster is not terribly far away, still sort of on the edge of Citadel space. Then you start getting over here into, I believe this is called the Attican Traverse, just sort of, you know, the edge of civilized space, sort of like the frontier. So this is the type of area where humans are trying to expand and colonize new worlds to become a more significant player in the galactic stage. Also in this area are the Batarians, which, again, I was saying before, are sort of one of our biggest rivals along with the Turians, because we are neighbors to them and we've sort of been competing for viable planets for expansion in this area. Then once you start getting further up north, air quotes, over here, then you're in the Terminus systems, which we've heard more talk of as of late. That is sort of the uncivilized, crime-ridden area where all the criminals hang out, and that's, you know, Omega. That's why Omega is over here in the Terminus system. And the Terminus system is basically almost the entire upper half of the galaxy, so it is quite large indeed. And so that includes Omega, of course, and even over here in the Hourglass Nebula, presumably. And so, just to give you a better sense of what is what when we're talking about where things fit in the Milky Way as a whole and try to piece all of those puzzle pieces together, that is sort of a general sense. And technically, I think we have like inner councils, or is it? This is like inner council or inner Citadel space here, where it's like kind of north of the Citadel, and then this is outer down here, or it might be vice versa. I don't remember. Might be getting that mixed up. But anyways, let's head over to the Citadel now. Okay, so fortunately, the Widow Cluster is fully explored because, well, it's just the Citadel, as it turns out. In fact, it won't even let us try to branch out into another solar system here, and this, I guess, technically isn't even a solar system, but because, well, there's nothing over here at all. So we can fuel, and I think we probably should fuel at least a bit, otherwise we might find ourselves in a nasty situation in which we are desperate for fuel, but don't have it. I think there is one potential thing that can happen if you're spamming the refuel button really quickly. I might be wrong about this, but I vaguely remember that if you spam the fuel button really quickly, you might actually be able to spend your credits without having it trigger that you should be refueling. I might have actually done it there briefly. I thought I saw it or heard the sound effect, but didn't actually see our fuel go up for one of the times when I pressed the button. So basically, be careful. You may not want to totally just spam the heck out of the buy fuel button, otherwise you might be throwing away credits unnecessarily. So I think, like we were saying, for the most part, really just want to be at maximum or close to maximum fuel. But we are probably going to be spending some monies here on the Citadel because, well, it is the hub of the galaxy and therefore presumably does have some places for us to shop around. Let's see. Supposedly constructed by the long-extinct Protheans, this colossal deep space station serves as the capital of the Citadel Council. Gravity is simulated through rotation and is a comfortable 1.02 standard Gs on the wards and a light 0.3 standard Gs on the Presidium ring. There's actually a pretty big difference. And so there are 13.2 million people, not including the Keepers here, which is interesting perspective. And we're talking about this being the key place in all of the Milky Way, and it's not a huge number population-wise. You know, compare that to the colony we were seeing and reading about on a recent planet that was, what, like 4.2 million or something like that? And, you know, that's, sure, it's a fair bit smaller than the Citadel, but it's roughly the same order of magnitude. I mean, that's maybe one less, but, still, I mean, there are certainly many places one would think that are significantly larger population-wise than the Citadel, but I suppose it's sort of like, you know, it's a little bit of a status symbol, an elite place to live, right, where, you know, I got a place, I got an apartment in the Citadel, one of the few places where I can be at the hub of everything, and, you know, it's kind of like, you know, being in that key city where, you know, there's not a lot of places to live, and so they're very in demand because people want to be right in the thick of things. But anyways, let's dock. And there she is. Alright, so we're going to bring some people with us, and I'd say, obviously we've been spending a lot of time with Miranda and Jacob as of late, because they were our original squad members, and we deliberately took them with us in our most recent mission, even when we had since acquired Zaid. But why don't we make a point here of adding some people that we have not previously used, namely Morden and Zaid. Except before we do that, let me just, as a reminder to you, show you what we have here for Morden. Again, he being our engineer, and Zaid being a soldier. So lots of combat abilities for Zaid, and lots of tech abilities for Morden. So it's a little bit of a strange combination in this case. I suppose it does give us a mix of having tech abilities, combat abilities. Just we're a little lacking when it comes to biotics. We're relying exclusively on us to provide that, and with us, at the moment at least, only having charge and being a little reluctant to use that is maybe not the best of the usual setups, but what with us being on the Citadel, one would hope, you know, we would not be getting into too many firefights in this situation. But anyways, let's take a look at our skills here. So Morden has Incinerate, and this I think is going to be his bread and butter, because Incinerate is an explosive plasma blast which inflicts damage over time to all nearby enemies and permanently stops their health regeneration. Very effective against armor. So Morden, in many ways, is very specialized. So he's really good against armor or enemies that have a lot of armor and enemies that have health regeneration. So in particular, that means Krogan, for example. He's going to be a really good matchup against them. Incinerate is just going to shred their armor and stop that life regeneration. Similar story with the Vorcha. So basically, Blood Pack many of the enemies that we were fighting in order to recruit him. So this is definitely going to be something that we want to spend a lot of points in, I think. And Cryoblast, just to take a look at this. your Omni tool fires a massive supercooled subatomic particles capable of snap freezing impacted targets. So, it is basically a crowd control ability, but I do not believe deals anything in the way of damage. This cryo weapon spray is engineered to, this being the branching options if we go all the way to level 4. This cryo weapon spray is engineered to maximize your choices, your chances of freezing multiple targets. For Deep Cryoblast, the blast potency and freeze duration are nearly unmatched by any other cryogenic weapon. So basically AoE versus freeze duration, but is pretty much purely crowd control, and I don't believe does any damage at all. So, I mean, sure, there are probably other abilities that fit that same description, but they may be preferable to Cryoblast, and I think Incinerate is definitely going to be the thing we want to focus on here. Just take a look at his passive, though. If we go all the way up to 4, then we can increase more than, well, I guess let's take a look. We're looking at health, weapon damage, and shields. If we go all the way up to 4, then we can either increase Morden's tech knowledge, further increasing the strength of his shields, or we can go Solarian Savant and increase Morden's weapon damage, which it's a little strange because, well, with him being an engineer, I suppose in Mass Effect 2, not sure if we've mentioned this explicitly just yet, but it is interesting comparing Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2 from a weapon standpoint. Mass Effect 1, technically, especially in Legendary Edition, you can have anyone equip any weapon, and if they don't have any training on it, then they're just going to be pretty inaccurate with it, but you can still use it. Whereas if you have training in it, obviously you can upgrade it and get stronger with it and have an effective both damage and accuracy-wise weapon. In Mass Effect 2, however, you have hard and fast weapons that you can and cannot equip. So in the case of Morden, for example, I believe it is just heavy pistols and it is just submachine guns that he can use. So those tend not to be the highest damage weapons. There are certainly some good ones out there. You know, we picked up the Carnifex, which is a better heavy pistol, so it's an improvement. But, you know, it's not like he's going to be one of our primary weapon damage dealers. He's going to be focusing on the tech power, so it's a little strange to be looking at abilities that focus on maximizing his weapon damage. So, for all those reasons, I think top priority here is to pour as many points into Incinerate as we can. So let's do this. And as we level it up, the damage is going to increase. And as we reach level 4, which we can afford here, we can evolve Incinerate into one of these two options. Heavy Incinerate, the Advanced Plasma Blast burns through nearly anything it hits, or Incineration Blast. The splash zone on this Plasma Blast is increased, allowing you to scorch multiple targets. So, as is often going to be the case when it comes to at least offensive abilities with the 4th evolution, it's going to be a matter of, do you choose the sort of hard-hitting single target damage option, or do you go for the lower damage but larger AoE option? And that's kind of a tough one, because I think it does depend a bit on which difficulty setting you're going with, because the difficulty setting that you've chosen affects what, if any, types of defenses, additional defenses, your enemies might have. So, for example, when we're on Veteran, the second highest, there's just about everybody is going to have, I think everybody, in fact, has at least some form of defense. Oftentimes, it's going to be armor, and so there are a lot of armored enemies out there. Getting an AoE, a better AoE on Incinerate, to hit more of those enemies simultaneously to remove all of their armor, is quite significant. However, on lower difficulties, where you might have just one enemy at a time that has armor on, then might make more sense to just say, okay, Morden, go all out damage on this one person, and you're the only one I need to remove the armor on, so I'm just gonna go and get all the damage I can get on this one target, because you're the only one that I care about with Incinerate. So, I mean, you could certainly make a case for either, but I'm thinking, we can see the specifics here. So the recharge time is 12 seconds either way, but it's the radius, which in Incinerate Blast goes from 1.2 meters up to 3. 1.2, I mean, it is still an AoE, yes, but, I mean, you have to more or less be standing next to someone to hit multiple people with that small radius there. Whereas at 3 meters, you're not clearing out a full room, but it's definitely doable to hit multiple people. Then, whereas if we go heavy incinerate, we're going from 170 points of damage to 210. So, again, matter of personal preference. You could go either way. I think the difficulty that you choose does have some effect on what you'd like here. And it does depend on, do you want Morton to be focused on, single target damage against the most difficult boss, mini-boss type enemies? Or are you more concerned about just getting swarmed by a bunch of weak but numerous enemies that have that do still have armor on in the higher difficulties? I think let's go with the AoE for that reason. Then we have 1 point remaining. I'd say, why don't we throw that in Solarian Scientist, then his last ability, just to show you what it is. Neural Shock delivers a shock to the opponent's nerves, briefly incapacitating one organic enemy at a time. And so this is another case of crowd control here for Morden. And, well, I think, as I was saying previously, for the most part, I think that Morden is going to be someone that we're going to be focusing primarily on this incineration with. We'll definitely take his passive all the way up as well. And not the biggest fan when it comes to Neural Shock. So, especially because this only briefly incapacitates one organic enemy, namely not mechs or any synthetic enemies. So it is somewhat limited in that sense. So I think, at least certainly short term, we're going to go Solarian Scientist here for a little more health, weapon damage, and shields. Then we have Zaid. And we were talking about weapon damage before and how that's not Morden's specialty. It very much is Zaid's specialty. Because if we look at his passives here, see weapon damage 12, 25, 37.5, and if we get up all the way to rank 4 here, could get it even higher still, potentially, if we go with Mercenary Warlord. So that's interesting for sure. Remember, Zaid also is our only existing squad mate that has access to assault rifles and sniper rifles, so he is more versatile than others in that sense as well, or at least provides an element that others do not currently provide. Then we have Concussive Shot, which is an explosive shot that knocks down and damages your opponents, leaving them open for additional attacks. So, Zaid being a soldier means that he doesn't have access to biotics or tech abilities, which generally tend to be the places where you're getting the more crowd control or specific abilities that work really well in some circumstances and then don't work at all in others, whereas soldiers tend to be more just the straightforward, I deal a lot of damage. But Concussive Shot is the closest thing he gets to when it comes to crowd control, because it can knock some people back, and that can be enough on some occasions to be significant. So, not to mention, we're trying to unlock Disruptor ammo, that being another type of ammo, then we do need to get at least 2 squad points in Concussive Shot. And Disruptor ammo is really nice because it is an ammo type that specializes in dealing damage to shields, and that is something that we don't have an answer for when it comes to our current setup. For our character, we have our incendiary ammo, which is effective against armor. We have our when we've already gotten rid of armor, then we can start, or shields or barriers, and it's just health, then we can do whatever we want with them from a biotic standpoint. We can, once we eventually unlock pull, we can pull them into the air. But we don't have a great way of stripping shields right now. So that is, for that reason, something that I think we'd very much like to have would be the squad disruptor ammo from Zaid. So that might be our top priority with him for now. So I'd say let's get Concussive Shot here up to rank 2 so we can do this. And we're unfortunately going to fall slightly short for the disruptor ammo here. Could deliberately save our 2 remaining points to try to get this when we next level up. Or we could say, alright, let's just throw a point in Mercenary Veteran to get some weapon damage here. I think let's try to save up for the big one, though. And then, it's fairly easy to get 1 or 2 spare points here, but get a chunk of 4, a little bit harder. So let's leave it at this, I suppose. And then we are still waiting on getting 1 more point as well, so we can upgrade our charge 1 more time. Then from weapon standpoint, like I was saying, Zaid does have an assault rifle, which we don't have any other options for him to take other than the base Avenger and the Mantis sniper rifle. So again, snipers, but this is the base sniper rifle, so could potentially get some upgrades here, but we were a little bit hesitant to go that route early since, again, Saeed is the only person who can use either of these weapon types that we know of at the moment. And Morden, as I was saying, is a submachine gun and a heavy pistol person, but he has already put on the Carnifex, so I think we're good to go here. So it's been a while. Last time we were here at the Citadel, you know, it was kind of getting attacked.
Shepard, enter the password and receive a free gift.
Excuse me?
Got problems with collectors? Try Kasumi's credit services.
So, as a reminder, the primary reason why we are here right now is shopping. No, I mean, we'll probably do some shopping, yes, if we have enough credits remaining to do any of that stuff. But the primary reason is because we are looking to recruit the Master Thief, Kasumi Koto. So she's Master of Stealth and Infiltration, skilled hacker, and information specialist, operates completely off the grid with no criminal record. Kasumi Koto is not the most famous thief in the galaxy, she's the best. Trained in the arts of stealth and infiltration, she has acquired artifacts and information from all over the galaxy, and yet maintains a completely clean criminal record. She's awaiting rendezvous with Shepard on the Citadel in the Zakara Ward, which may be the place where we are right now. So we're looking to rendezvous with her, traveling to the Zakara Ward on the Citadel, and input the password "Silence is Golden" at Kasumi's hacked ad terminal. Well, there is an advertisement here. However,
just enter your password for a fabulous prize package worth millions of credits.
If you deliberately just stand here, in fact, let's just take a look. Are we technically in the Zakara Ward right now? We are at, let's see, this is the Citadel map, and Zakara Cafe is not too far from where we are. We're at Rapid Transit. We have CSEC Captain Bailey and Zakara Cafe appear to be the two closest things to us. Citadel souvenirs. I think this is technically the Zakara Ward, if I'm not mistaken, in that case, or at least I'm reading between the lines a little bit here, based on how the Zakara Cafe is kind of right next door. So if we deliberately just stand here and don't interact...
Really? How many times can you walk by without stopping?
Kasumi will start to get a little unhappy with us, a little displeased.
Shepard, you do have the password, right?
So, you know, there's potentially some reason to deliberately delay.
Commander Shepard, enter the password and receive a free gift.
I think that's all she has to say now, but...
Got problems with collectors? Try Kasumi's credit services.
Yep. Alright, now let's do it.
Please tell me your password, Commander Shepard.
So this is the password. Or we can say, no thanks. But sure, we'll play along with it. We've already tested her patience enough.
Silence is golden.
Good to finally meet you, Commander Shepard. Kasumi Koto. I'm a fan.
So... have you been briefed? You know what we're getting ourselves into? Also, can't help but notice that we are currently talking to you through an ad terminal.
Has Cerberus filled you in on the mission?
Honestly, I'm shocked they didn't come to see me sooner.
And there she
For
is.
being hard to find, I guess.
Okay. Well, I suppose she is a master of infiltration, and so for her to be hard to find is maybe not too surprising. Why all the secrecy on this occasion, though?
What's with the password and the sneaking around? Are you in trouble or something?
I'm the best thief in the business, not the most famous. Need to watch my step to keep it that way. I also needed to make sure all this was legit. And I have no doubts now. You're the real Commander Shepard.
You sure about that?
What makes you so sure?
There's a certain aura about you. Like you've seen things no one else has. Even without knowing what you looked like, I knew it was you.
Interesting. Very interesting. So, do you have any sort of history with Cerberus?
What brought you to Cerberus?
That's a bit of a story. Short version, they were looking for me, so I trailed them to find out why. Turns out
They were looking for me, so I looked for them.
You on an important mission, and were offering a serious signing bonus. I had a thing I needed help with, so I made them a deal. And here we are.
Okay. Interesting. What kind of deal are we talking about here?
I assume this deal is something I should know about?
Yeah, I guess it slipped their minds. I'm looking for my old partner's gray box. A man named Donovan Hawk took it, and I'm planning to get it back.
Hmm. Okay. Looks like we're perhaps occasionally getting little glimpses where she actually is, because of course, no, she's not actually an electronic VI or AI that's just talking to us through this ad terminal. No, there is an actual person that is using the ad terminal. But let's see. So, okay, who is this Donovan Hawk person?
What do you know about Donovan Hawk?
Mr. Hawk is a well-respected businessman. Arms dealer, murderer, generally not a great guy.
Oh.
His mansion's famous for being hard to crack, but I have a way in, and I think you're gonna love it.
Oh. Okay. That sounds interesting. What exactly is this gray box that he stole from you, though?
I assume a gray box is some kind of hardware?
It's a neural implant. Illegal in most places. Stores
Whoa,
memories,
what happened to your eyes?
secret codes, illicit information. This one in particular belonged to my partner, Keiji Okuda. We worked together for a long time, before Hawk killed him.
Oh. Sorry about that. In that case, can you tell us more about your partner?
Tell me about this former partner of yours.
His name was Keiji Okuda, the best hacker and entryman I've ever known. Unfortunately, he slipped up and made himself infamous. He stole something he shouldn't. He warned me it was bad, something that could spark interstellar war if it got out. That information got him killed.
And there she is, hanging out above us, although I'm not even sure that Shepard has realized just yet. What did you say?
What could he have found that's so bad?
He wouldn't say what it was, just that it was dangerous. He said if it got out, humanity would be in trouble. He encrypted it, wrapped it up in his own memories. To decode the information, you have to sift through all the time we spent together. Now those memories are all that's left of him.
Ooh, that is a clever way to encrypt something, but also, yeah, I mean, for that to be the case from her former partner, that is tough. That is tough, but I can see why you want it.
I can understand why you'd want to get it back.
Getting it back will be easier with your help, Shepard.
Okay, well, it does sound like we're talking about some kind of heist here.
What's this heist you're planning?
Not here, Shepard. You'll get a briefing when the time comes. I need time to nail down the details anyway. I've taken the liberty of getting you some evening wear, though. You want to look presentable.
Okay. Sure, we'll take care of it. Sounds like a plan.
If that's what Cerberus promised you, we'll get it done.
It'll be fun. And if we're lucky, you won't even have to draw your gun. We should probably wrap this up. You look pretty silly standing there talking to an advertisement. See you on the ship, Shepard.
And there she is. And there she goes. So, that is Kasumi, first and foremost. Of course, we'll get the chance to talk to her a little bit later on because she has now joined the team. And we get a lot of additional codex updates from having spoken to her as well. But if we take a look at her journal here, we will now find a main mission for Kasumi stealing memory. Master Thief Kasumi Goto has a problem. A ruthless arms dealer named Donovan Hawk killed her partner, Keiji Okuda, and stole Okuda's gray box, a neural implant that stores memories and information. Kasumi has planned a daring heist to recover Okuda's gray box and has asked for help in pulling it off. Once this is done, Kasumi can dedicate all of her attention to completing Shepard's mission. So again, this is something that she had made a deal with Cerberus when she signed on. Sure, there might have been a nice, hefty signing bonus, as she said, but she's also acting on the assumption that Cerberus will return this favor that she is giving them and help her to acquire this gray box, and so that is on us to help her make that happen. And we'll need to travel to Beckenstein, which is in the Serpent Nebula, actually, to attend the party of the notorious arms dealer, Donovan Hawk. And so, you may have been wondering why we basically just showed up on the Citadel, had a conversation, and we have already successfully recruited her. Unlike, say, when we were trying to recruit Morden, the professor, where we had to go through a long and difficult mission in order to get him. And the answer for that is that, like Zaid, Kasumi is the other DLC added squad mate, and so they are, again, a little bit different in that they are much more straightforward to acquire, but also have, as we are seeing here, much like we were recently talking about with Zaid, we have her, what is already her loyalty mission for sealing this memory. And so this is, again, something that will be technically optional, but definitely a high priority for us to get this done at some point. So we'll keep an eye out for a good opportunity to do that. So we have already acquired Kasumi's services. However, we are hanging out on the Citadel, and while we're here, there are many things that I think we can still make a point of doing, because there's more stuff to do around here, rather than just hanging out in this rapid transit area. We've got some shops. I'm sure there are plenty of people that we might be able to talk to as well. We might even have some keepers we can talk to with Morden, or talk about with Morden.
Keepers. Fascinating creatures. Genetic constructs adapted to work in Citadel. Couldn't survive outside. Unknown purpose. Wish I could have studied them. Had other things to do instead.
Got some Hanar chilling over here. Can't talk with them, though. Rapid transit. We can request a new squad member. So what we can do is we can actually... well, we can't move to these other sections at the moment. But we can, if we'd like, say, get Kasumi in here. I mean, I would do that. It's just that we have not yet done anything with Zaid or Morden. So in some ways, you know, I'd like to spend a little bit of time with them before we are replacing them with anyone else. The Galactic News.
2 years since the destruction of the Destiny Ascension, planning for the fleet of the new Allied Citadel Defense Unit have reached another impasse. The Asari Republics has ceded its share of defense responsibility to the Turian hierarchy. The Human Alliance maintains a majority share of forces.
And so that's a reference to the end of Mass Effect 1, where we did, of course, choose to, rather than save the Council, go directly toward fighting Sovereign, and in doing so, well, the Council did die, as did the Asari's biggest flagship, the Destiny Ascension, which is what they were referring to there, went down in the process, but in doing so meant that the Human Alliance has comparatively become stronger relative to other species in the galaxy.
A source reports that the attack on the human colony of Freedom's Progress is being investigated as a possible terrorist attack by dissidents from former Council races. While no formal statement has been issued, the Council has made formal information requests of the Salarian Special Tasks Group.
So that's the place where we had one of our first missions, basically in the tutorial, in which we learned about the Collector's attack, and we didn't actually see them. We saw the after effects. And so we're trying to investigate it, the STG for the Salarians, but they may not get much information because we've already been there and didn't get much ourselves.
Alliance military officials are having difficulty meeting hiring quotas, according to a new report. Since Eden Prime, an initial surge in patriotic enlistments was followed by a downturn, as the public became skeptical that the Alliance can match Geth technology.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Fears of an uncontrolled plague in the streets of Omega have been laid to rest, as the disease is now under control.
And that, of course, is a direct response to the mission we had in which we recruited Morden. So if we had not done so already when we got here to the Citadel, then I imagine there's probably an alternate version of that entry in which it's saying that there is a plague running rampant on Omega.
Charles Saraceno, leader of the Terra Firma Party and former Alliance Parliament candidate, has pled guilty to tax evasion. He is in custody pending sentencing.
That may have been someone that we met in Mass Effect 1. We met at least one person representing or campaigning for Terra Firma, which was a very pro-human-oriented group. Kind of like Cerberus in that sense, except Cerberus being more of a scientific research and military operation, whereas, in this case, Terra Firma was purely political. So, he was not the kindest of people that we met, if this is the guy that I'm thinking of, and was basically demanding that we support him. And they were like, thanks, but no thanks. So, turns out that he was apparently committing tax evasion, and, well, so much for that political career.
Captain Shepard has apparently turned down an admiral's star and will remain in command of the Orizaba. The captain deemed her
That's our
promotion to
mom.
admiral a political ploy and said that she could best honor her child's legacy
Good job, Mom.
An independent inquiry is investigating a group known as Cerberus in light of charges made by one Corporal Toombs and testimony by an apparent Cerberus scientist. A researcher known only as Dr. Wayne has been promised immunity and has suggested Cerberus may also be tied to the death of Admiral Kohoku several years ago.
Several Mass Effect 1 throwbacks there. So, as you can see, that is something that we're gonna see a fair bit of, in these sort of passing remarks that we absorb as we're going through various places like the Citadel, where Corporal Toombs, the guy in Mass Effect 1 that we encountered on a planet in which, what was it? It was a research facility where he was basically holding a scientist captive, and we had to convince him not to kill the guy, because he was very upset at the time. But we did successfully talk him out of it, and spared that scientist as well, who was perhaps not 100% in the right either. And then also made reference to the Admiral Kohoku missions, in which he found out about some Cerberus operations, and tried to track them down, but in doing so got killed by Cerberus, and then we ended up fighting several rounds of Cerberus enemies in the process. Or at least eventually ended up, checking out some of the failed Cerberus research experiments, and that's where we first learned about Cerberus in Mass Effect 1.
The Systems Alliance Parliamentary Subcommittee for Transhuman Studies has awarded reparations for biotics suffering complications from L2 implants.
And that's the type of implant that Caden had.
Biotics everywhere for their patience and understanding, and promised more help for those forgotten by the system until now.
And Chairman Burns was also someone that we met in a Mass Effect 1 side mission in which he was being held hostage by a group of L2 biotics, which again, the same type of biotic implant that Caden had, which was known for having significant side effects that gave people headaches, migraines, and at best, and at worst, just totally debilitating, pain. And so they were quite displeased about that, and I think wanted reparations or something like that for being quite literally implanted with technology that was not really in a state where it should have been used. And so I think Senator Burns, or whatever his official title was, Politician Burns, was initially opposed to supporting biotics in that sense, financially. And then the biotics captured him, held him hostage. We had to rescue him and convince him that he should in fact support the biotics, and only in doing so have we now learned that yes, he has become a champion of supporting those L2 biotics.
The Turian hierarchy has announced that it will not limit its dreadnought production to previous totals. Citing an increased need for security in the wake of the deaths of previous council members, the Turian military intends to increase defense production. Representatives of the new human-led council had no comment.
Turians just responding to the council having been defeated.
A council
Defeated,
inquiry has
killed.
concluded that a combat VI that went rogue on Luna was not intentionally upgraded to full AI status. Alliance members have maintained that the VI was for combat testing purposes only. Given these findings, it is unlikely any charges will be filed.
Okay, that is also from Mass Effect 1. Luna, of course, being the moon. That being the place where we ran into a rogue VI initially. I'm not sure if we initially thought it was a VI. We certainly learned eventually that it was, in fact, an AI. And fought against some drones, and that is eventually the place where we got our subclass upgrade that we used to get our super stasis abilities in Mass Effect 1. However, at the time, I made a comment about how that AI was actually a lot more significant than it might have initially seemed. I said, I won't go any further for spoilery reasons, but it may be safe now. It may be safe now to unveil the little secret about that AI that we ran into in the Luna base. So, let's just say that I'll walk you through this a little bit, step by step, see if you can catch where I'm going with this. But so we ran into the AI on Luna, and let's just say that AI was in fact something that was actually created by, actually I'm not sure if it was created by or eventually just stolen by Cerberus. Okay? And, well, you see, you may remember a certain AI that Cerberus has developed recently that, you know, Shepard may or may not have some first-hand experience with, may or may not be currently deployed on the Normandy that we are using. Yeah, it's Edie. It's Edie. The AI on Luna from Mass Effect 1 that we fought against, the place where we eventually unlocked our subclass, was in fact Edie. So, I forget where the technical confirmation for that is. It might be super hidden. But, yeah. Now that we've actually met, quote-unquote, Edie, I think it's fair to say.
Biomedical firm Certa Foundation is reporting a medical breakthrough against a new strain of interspecies influenza. The development comes as a result of samples contaminated during a biotic attack on their research center 2 years ago. Fortunately, there were few casualties.
That one is also a reference to Mass Effect 1 mission. That might have been the one that was the super impossible drugged scientists who have been captured by, were they drug scientists captured by, I forget if they were biotics that captured them or just generally mercenaries. The one where it took us a few attempts to finish it perfectly because you have a count of how many scientists are remaining, and I think it starts with like 12 or something, and the scientists will just walk around the facility as you are fighting enemies, and they will walk directly in front of your line of fire, or they'll just be hanging out right next to the line of fire, and there are also explosive containers all over the place, so it's really easy for some of them to die. And we did eventually complete that successfully. However, one of the reasons why I was not terribly concerned if we did not eventually end up succeeding at doing that was that mission is bugged when it comes to the carryover effects into Mass Effect 2 or Mass Effect 3, in that even if you successfully complete that mission without having any of the scientists die, the game does not record that properly, and it actually thinks that either everyone or some of the people in that facility died, so not 100% certain if that's the mission that one is alluding to there, but if so, then that is why it says some people died, even though, in truth, we did actually save everyone in that mission.
Celebrations are planned across Terra Nova for the upcoming anniversary of the thwarted terrorist attack on the colony. Former hostage Kate Bowman is expected to read a thank you message to Alliance soldiers who rescued her. The Batarian terrorist responsible for the attack on the colony, known only as Balak, remains at large.
So that's Bring Down the Sky from Mass Effect 1, which, again, had the decision of either freeing the scientists and letting the criminal, Balak, run free, or killing the criminal, Balak, and in doing so, he would explode some devices that would take out said scientists. So we chose to free these scientists and let Balak walk, but of course, still at large, as that newscast was saying, so still certainly the potential for him to cause some additional harm.
Shepard Memorial Plaza on Elysium was voted this year's hottest wedding location.
Really?
Under Admiral Hackett's orders, money raised from wedding fees goes to funds for Alliance veterans.
Okay. Sure.
Explorer ships have reported seeing vessels of an unknown make, but whose silhouette strongly resembles ancient Rachni ship profiles. The few ships sighted have been small scouting vessels that rapidly retreated. The Council has pledged a full investigation.
That doesn't sound good. Whether it be Rachni or something else, well, then again, it might technically be a callback to Mass Effect 1 as well, and that we did, of course, choose to save the Rachni Queen, and then basically said, okay, we know in the past, you Rachni may have gotten a little bit aggressive and started a galactic war in which, all the Council races had to team up and also get the Krogan involved in order to wipe you out, because otherwise you're going to take over the entire galaxy. And, that didn't exactly leave you on good terms with the other species in the galaxy. So when you tried to say, hey, please, pretty please, can you spare me the last member of my species capable of reproducing? You know, it was kind of a hard sell. You did promise, hey, we'll be good, don't worry about us. And we kind of took your word on it, Mrs. Rachni Queen. But, perhaps those Rachni-looking ships are, in fact, Rachni ships that were created by the Rachni, that the Rachni Queen, birthed because we let her live.
The Asari Shaira, more commonly known as the Consort, has declined to name the next race likely to gain council membership. However, she suggested an announcement could come soon.
Oh, okay.
Commander Shepard. He uncovered Saren's plan, defeated the Geth army, and died in the final days of the fight. Or did he? Witnesses report seeing him alive on Omega.
I have no idea what you're talking about. He's definitely not standing right in front of this terminal listening to that newscast.
2 years after a Geth attack nearly destroyed it, the colony of Zoo's Hope has announced plans for an expansion.
And that is, of course, also a callback to Mass Effect 1, Zoo's Hope being the Theros colony, where we ran into all the colonists that were being mind-controlled by the Thorian, and that we successfully saved in their entirety. And depending on how many of the colonists you save, and how many of the side missions you do, and who is leading the colony, whether it be the grumpy guy who works for Exogeny, who you have to pass a ridiculous charm/intimidate check to convince to help, or I forget her name, but the Asari person who basically got eaten, more or less, by the Thorian and used as, or at least used as, a conduit through which to speak to the other people trying to communicate with the Thorian. You could also, if you choose to let her live, you could also have her be a leader of the colony if you don't get the grumpy Exogeny guy. So all those things are the things that determine whether or not the colony will succeed or fail, and that would, of course, affect what we hear here.
The Kanan Alenko Memorial Scholarship has begun sending gifted human biotics to the Ascension Project for care and training. Alenko, a graduate of the controversial Biotic Acclimation and Temperance Training Project, sacrificed his life to help stop Saren on Vermeer.
Again, call back to Mass Effect 1, obviously referencing Caden.
Later today, we interview Counselor Anderson. The tireless former soldier has put down his guns to build bridges with numerous trained treaties. Tune in and find out what the man behind Commander Shepard's rise to fame thinks is the greatest threat to intergalactic stability.
I swear, Anderson, if you don't say it's Reapers, I'm not going to be happy with you. We put you as the human counselor for a reason.
2 years since the destruction of the Destiny Ascension, planning for the fleet of the new Allied Citadel defense unit have reached another impasse. The Asari Republics has ceded its share of defense responsibility.
Okay, and I think we've heard this one before, so I think that's everything. That's a lot, but as you can see there, almost every single one of them, if not every single one of them, was a reference to things that we've done in Mass Effect 1. And, you know, it may just seem like little tiny side quests that may have seemed completely insignificant at the time. Like, oh, hey, sure, we'll just fight these random enemies here and not think much of it. But there is at least some after effects. And in some cases, maybe a little bit more than that in some of those side missions. But we'll, of course, keep our eyes and ears peeled, see if anything else does pop up. It has a connection to what we've done in Mass Effect 1.